Hello, hello, everyone. Please type in the chat if you're joining us and where you're joining us from. I'm so excited to be joined here with the one and only Nicole Laino. She is an incredible member of our group. She is a divine feminine goddess warrior, fierce mindset coach. I've learned so much from her, not only working with her, writing her pitch, but listening to her podcast, being on her podcast. Today, we're going to talk about something that is, I think, super relevant to everyone. As you know, there are more entrepreneurs starting businesses in the last 12 months than in the history of mankind. That's good, right? That's good. That's powerful, that's inspiring. But it also means that there's more fear, more doubt, more imposter syndrome. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And if you've gotten my emails, I said I had a question in the very beginning. I said, raise your hand if you have ever been called perfectionist, overthinker, overanalyzer. All right. So if you have, this episode is for you. Stay tuned. Nicole, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So when I was on your podcast and then when we were working together, this common theme kept coming up because you said one of the things you really help people with is imposter syndrome. So why don't you talk a little bit kind of generally about how that relates to overthinking and perfectionism? Because honestly, to a lot of people, they take pride in that, right? So
Yeah.
what is so wrong about being called a perfectionist or overthinker?
Well, I think, what's so wrong with it is it keeps you stuck. It keeps you where you are. You have problems that seem to be that you might run into patterns that are continually happening, and you can't really see your way out of them. And the reason is it's because of the way that you are being. And if you are being a perfectionist, if you've heard that term, be, do, have, we have to be a certain way in order to do the things so we can have all that we want. One of the things that I found really confusing about that was nobody really clarified the be part. They just kind of tell you like, you have to be different. But if you are being a perfectionist, then you are probably, things are going slower. You are not completing your tasks in a timely manner because you blow them up, or maybe you blow up the project so much that you can't even see the next step because you're already 5 steps ahead, thinking about how hard that will be, getting your resistance up, getting your heart rate up, getting your anxiety up about how much work it's going to be, or the stakes of the thing, or how perfect it needs to be, that taking that first step is so much harder. Taking that first step, maybe you aren't as effective because your energy is all messed up when you take that step, as opposed to if you let go of perfectionist tendencies, if you learn how to manage I call them the 4 Ps that are keeping you stuck. These are 4 strategies that we all use. First thing I will say though, is that 70% of people have imposter syndrome. Like, that's a statistic that they have out there, that about 70% of people see themselves as having imposter syndrome at least some of the time. And if you poll just women, that number goes up significantly. So I think that it's just worth recognizing that, first of all, you're not alone. This is a human thing. And when we talk about these 4 Ps of the 4 Ps are strategies that keep you stuck, are perfectionism, playing small, procrastination, and pleasing. So people pleasing. So these are 4 strategies that we all have these strategies, and they're with us from the time we're kids. These are ways that we learn to make it through the world, and they got you to where you are. So we're grateful for them for getting us here, but what got you here won't get you there. And this is why mindset work is so powerful. This is why mindset work, you can muscle your way and hustle your way to a certain level, but if you've hit your income ceiling, if you've hit your productivity ceiling, if you're bumping your head up against what I call your inner glass ceiling, then it's a mindset shift that will get you past it. It will shatter it with that. So perfectionism, the reason is it causes gridlock in us, and it tends to cause a lot of anxiety because we've set the bar so high for ourselves. And typically what happens is a lot of people, now everybody in this group, we're trying to get PR. We're trying to be seen as thought leaders and experts in our field. We want our products to be bought. We want to be taken seriously. And when we start throwing out that word expert, that's a goalpost that moves for us. One thing that we do is, for some reason, we will look at other people and think that they are an expert, but when we look at ourselves, we may not see our expert status as easily. So we look at other people and we say, well, they're an expert. So we start comparing ourselves to that person. So this is how, when you start to understand your patterns of thinking, and like what I work with people on is recognizing those patterns and being able to work yourself through them so you can lead yourself through to your next level, rather than being kind of subconsciously stuck in a pattern that we don't even realize is happening.
I love what you said about how it shows up, because I know there's people probably watching now who they have an incredible mission. They have built something truly amazing. They have amazing testimonials, but they're just dilly-dallying and not pressing that send button, asking me questions about the length, or, like little things that are just honestly like procrastination disguised in perfectionism, I think. And so anytime I get like messages about like what hour I should send it and kind of the details that's delaying them actually sending it, that I think is when it creeps up. And I know because it creeped up for me. When I was cold pitching, I felt like I had to meet all of these things before I literally had the pitch written down. I couldn't remember it like the back of my hand, but I just couldn't press send. And so I think that procrastination is really kind of where it shows up. And it's so important, you said about expert, because so many people are like, I'm not an expert. I only have 1 year or 2 years or 10 years. So what do you have to say about kind of like stepping into that and claiming that expert? And I think it's important to say, when we're expert, there's no legal like or like definition of what that is. It's like you going and claiming that, right? So talk to me a little bit about claiming that.
Well, the way that we claim it, so first of all, recognizing that, it's easy to, you brought up promoting your product versus promoting yourself. Why is it so hard? One, we put that expert label on promoting ourselves. I have to be an expert, but my product just needs to deliver on this simple promise of the thing that it does. And it's not us. So it's outside of us. So it's much easier to say, here, buy this thing, than here, buy into me, buy into my expert status, buy into my way of thinking, buy into my message. And so it absolutely clouds our judgment when we put that expert label onto ourselves. But one of the things that I work with people on, and I try to shine a little bit of light on, is your story and everything that you've lived up until this point, everything that you see for your future, is all tinted and tainted by the lens that you view it through. So if you're looking at your story and you're saying, well, I don't have this pedigree, and I'll give you like a story from my life. Now I'm a former Wall Street executive. I was an actress. I formed my own startup. Oh, did I lose? I think we lost Gloria for a second. She'll be back. I'm just going to give you the rest of the story. So I'm a former Wall Street executive. I was an actress. I started a startup company, a startup software company, and I am a business mentor and mindset coach. So these are all things that I do. And when I was on Wall Street, I didn't graduate college. I have 1 million credits. I have been to college. I worked all through college. So I worked full time while I was getting 4.0s. I just didn't graduate. I didn't finish. And I allowed that to cloud how I saw myself, my value, my worth, my status as an expert, my status in my job on Wall Street, until I decided to change it. And this is something that everybody can do. So if you are currently looking at yourself, I challenge you to look at your story and the way that you are allowing it to work on you internally. So I started out by looking at this as this huge hindrance and some way that I was not good enough, because I'm working next to people who went to MIT and Harvard and all of these fancy business schools and technical schools. And here I was without that degree. And then one day I said, well, what if I changed how I take the same story, the same facts, and I look at it differently? I look at it through a different lens. Instead of making that lens very dark, what if I threw some rose-colored glasses on and I looked through it? And instead I made it about how freaking scrappy I am, that I managed to make it where I am climbing the ladder faster than some of these Harvard grads. I am running circles around them because I'm resourceful, I'm scrappy. I was doing a full-time course load while working full-time at a major Wall Street corporation. People couldn't do what I did. When I started looking at it that way, I was just like, they should be paying me more. And I walked in and I asked for promotions with much greater confidence. And I was able to kind of demand things that I was worth. I was able to stand up for myself, and I still do this today. So this is one of those things that holds people back, is that perfectionism of seeing our past and our credibility. We have the credibility is part of the method that we use to go into pitching ourselves for PR. We can really diminish ourselves by the way that we look at how credible we are when we look at our credibility markers. So I challenge you to kind of look at them through a different lens. I challenge you to see your story through an empowering lens instead of a disempowering lens, because you are defeated in your mind before the world has even a chance to hear what you're pitching. That's, like Gloria said, hitting the send button is so hard, but everything you want is on the other side of hitting send. But what's happening?
100%.
We're worried about, what will they say? Will they like it? Will they respond? Will they not? All internal. Nothing has actually happened yet. Nothing is terrifying about hitting the send button except the meaning that we put on what will happen on the other side. What if you hit send with the feeling that the yes is on the other side? And that there's training in that of getting out of your head enough that you can, because we say like be, do, have. When you stop being a certain way, when you stop being the perfectionist, when you stop being someone who plays small, you are able to do different things, like hit the send button with confidence.
And I think we all know that your level of success as an entrepreneur is directly equated to your level of being able to take risks and go into something that is uncertain. And I think perfectionism keeps you stuck there, so you never take that risk, right? It's just ego, it's just fear, but everything you want is on the other side. So what are the actual tangible things, mantras that people who are watching they're like, I'm ready, I know I'm confident, but for some reason I'm still unable to press that send? What are some of the hacks and tricks that they can get themselves past that?
Well, some of those things, I mean, the 4 Ps is something that everybody should be writing down. You should be writing like, these are my 4 strategies. So when you're having a moment of feeling like you aren't able to move gracefully and easily through life, whatever the thing is, because this plays out in our family life, this plays out in our business in all sorts of ways. Ask yourself, am I being a perfectionist? Am I being someone who plays small? Am I being someone who procrastinates? Which procrastinating, I look at like very much in tandem with distractions, and, allowing yourself to be distracted from the thing that you've intended to do.
And done that every day.
Yeah. And then am I pleasing people? And we all do this. We all do it. But the first step is awareness. So the way that the formula that I can give you for seeing these things and getting better at seeing when you are employing these subconscious strategies is, 1, set an intention every day. Set an intention of what you hope to accomplish, an impact that you're looking to make on your life, not just tasks that you want to complete, but what is a way that you want to show up? All right, how are you showing up with intention? What is that intention? So it gives you a touch point where you can say, am I doing this or am I not? Am I being successful in this intention or am I not? And then if the answer is not, am I pleasing? Am I perfecting? Am I procrastinating? Am I playing small? And all of those things, you might have a little bit of all of them. We all lean on one a little bit more. We all have one that's sort of our go-to. And if you are an overachiever and somebody who pushes and has a high drive, perfectionism is probably a place where you wear it like a badge of honor. But what if I told you that if you released your perfectionism, you would achieve 10 times, 100 times more than you are achieving right now? Because it's actually a foot on the brake pedal while your other foot is trying to hit the gas and send you on your way.
I love what you said about intention, because I think the reason why, and listen, I tell startups with $10 million, the same thing. I tell people who have made only $10 in revenue, the same method, but they work differently. Not because of like the actual method, it's because of how the intention behind how they use it, right? And I think for a lot of people, when they are pitching, the intention is like, I want to look a certain way, or I don't want to be rejected. The intention is about protecting us from fear, from rejection. If the intention is not, I have something of value that it might be imperfect. I might not have the most experience, but I have a story that people can benefit from right now in its imperfect form. That is the intention that I want people to tap into every time they press that send button. So I love what you said. Talk to me a little bit more about people pleasing, because guilty as charged.
This one's kind of my favorite, because it's one that I think it's another one that feels very charitable, and we feel good doing it, and it feels like something. And this plays out big with people who have families and coaches. We can certainly fall into this. Clients, you can kind of get into a people-pleasing energy with your clients, where again, it's taking you away from your highest good. It is taking you away from the intention that you have for yourself and for your business and for your life. So people-pleasing is something, the way that can play out is, I'm not going to market, or I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm not going to go for more business until I get this client off to X amount of into X place. It can be, well, giving your power away to the schedule of the kids and the family. And I can't do that because my family needs me right now. While that may be somewhat true, I guarantee you it's not as true as you're making it. And it's something that you are, again, you have to ask yourself these questions like, am I employing a strategy of people pleasing right now to keep me safe? Because the next step scares me. So I'm letting myself off the hook by allowing myself to say that a plausible excuse for me not doing the thing that will move me forward is because I have to take care of my kids. Because a lot of times the answer is, and I've challenged a lot of my clients with this, and I've challenged myself with it too, where when I feel like I can't do it because of the obligations I have to other people, I think to myself, I'm like, well, is there anywhere where I can get help, where the burden doesn't have to fall on me? Because ultimately, again, our thoughts, they determine our actions. Our thoughts determine our feelings, and our feelings determine our actions, and the actions determine the results that we get. So if the thought is that I have to do everything around the house, so how will I ever be successful? Because if I'm the only person who can do all of this stuff, the feeling is I feel very unsupported, and I feel really alone, and I feel like all of this is too much. So I start to back away from the thing that feels hard. And we lean into this people pleasing, this energy of, I have to do it all for my family. When the truth is, we could ask a better question, and we can say, is there any way that I could not take on the burden of all of this myself? Yes, I could ask my husband for help. I could ask my nanny to take on extra hours. There are all sorts of ways that we can take the burden off of ourselves, but we choose not to because it's a strategy to keep us where we are, because where we are is safe, and the unknown, the next step, is unsafe.
You also said something too with when we did our one-on-one pitch writing session, something that gave me like a light bulb moment. And I don't have children, but you said so many women that I work with, when they say that they don't have time to pursue this business that really is their passion, that they know has affected people, is because they feel like they feel guilty about it. And you said you feeling guilty about doing what's divinely yours and claiming that is you saying that you don't really respect your business, and you not asking for help is just another manifestation. And so if you don't respect your business, how will other people respect your business, right? When you're asking for help, you're saying that this demands my attention just as much as your full-time or corporate job. So talk to me a little bit more about that, because I know there's a lot of women in the group here.
Yeah. And that is kind of a strategy of, that's people pleasing into playing small. So I'm not going to respect my business. I'm not going to respect my calling. I'm not going to, and again, this all gets tied into so much of our subconscious programming. That's why I've dedicated my life to working on this stuff, because I believe so wholeheartedly in it. And I've seen the transformations that occur when we let go of these beliefs, and when we untie and unglue ourselves from the emotions that we're addicted to that are tied to these beliefs, and we can actually let them go. But this strategy of playing small. So having that big dream for ourselves, having that big goal, having that, it's scary stuff. And I think for women, I think this comes up a lot more than it does for men. Men experience this. I'm not saying at all that men don't have fear of the unknown. We all do. But for women, I know that most of us were not brought up and trained and to think that we could achieve these great things. You might have grown up like I did, where, you maybe, like, I liked fancy things growing up, and I always did. And I always saw myself as having kind of an extravagant life, and your family telling you, well, you better find a man that can afford you. When you hear something like that, like, she's going to need a rich one, I hope you find somebody that can keep you in, which the silent insinuation is that I couldn't provide that for myself. These are the things that get into our way of being and our way of thinking, and this affects how we move through the world. And so this affects what we are able to go after. So that playing small again, it's a strategy of, part of us says we don't deserve that. We can't get that on our own. We shouldn't have this. It's wrong on some level, or it's not really ours. We're doubting that divine calling that we feel so connected to. And it's keeping us safe and employing this silent strategy of saying, your family needs you. There's so much going on in the house. How could you possibly be focused on your business when all of this is going on? It's a way of playing small. It's a way of shrinking to the idea and to the outline that your upbringing, your thoughts, and your feelings have put you into, this box of saying this is what's possible for you. You're daring every day to see yourself beyond that box, but it's a practice. And your subconscious is very smart. It installed every button that exists in you. So it knows exactly how to push them to operate you in a way that keeps you in this box, because the box is safe. So we have to understand when those buttons are being pushed, recognize it, and then it's our job, through like the work that I do, where we deactivate the buttons. We make those strategies no longer work. We become incredibly aware of them, and we're able to move through life and create amazing things because of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And one other thing I will say is, even for myself, right? I mean, obviously, growing up in an Asian family household, that scarcity immigrant mindset, I know that all too well.
Yeah.
And that was actually the reason why my mother stopped talking to me when I gave up my diplomatic career. And she was like, that is the stupidest decision you have ever made. You need to just keep your head down, and whoever pays you full salary, like just do it, they say, right? And obviously I had the privilege to self-manifest a life that was different than that. I didn't have 3 kids or anything like that. I knew that was the time to pull the trigger, which was I needed to make a change now. So I understand what that is like, to go beyond that 3 to 4 inch diameter that we kind of live in, and the hardships that come with that. But that's kind of what ultimately built my business. And I think another thing is, you talked about perfectionism, people pleasing, procrastination, and how that's a manifestation of imposter syndrome. Because I say this on every masterclass, is this is one of the 5% activities that will result in 80% of your business. Because to me, being able to pitch and master your story, everyone needs to know that, right? Just from a writing perspective. But even more than that, it's training your mind to think that you're so much more than your product or your service. That's a lifelong thing. That's a lifelong practice. It's going to yield dividends with every person you come across, that energy, right? That's really what this work is. And I think in order to get past that, you need to stop procrastinating on the things that's really going to move your business forward, like submitting that pitch to be on the podcast or writing the email to the editor-in-chief. But instead, we write a to-do list of all the different menial tasks that's not going to move us forward. And I am really guilty of this, because I have so many things I need to do that's going to really drive my business forward, like making a new sales page or doing a collaboration. But because I'm procrastinating, I'm like, I'm going to change the About Me section on my website, or I'm going to organize my pens, or I'm going to go on Amazon and look for a new chair, So I totally see where this is coming from. I want to take this time to ask if does anyone have any questions. Nicole has given us so many valuable insights, but maybe something she said resonated with you. And by the way, Nicole, I didn't realize that you never graduated from college, and you are a Wall Street executive that climbed the ranks And that is wow. Like, thank you for sharing that, because that is really, really, like, it gives me a lot of hope, and I'm super impressed.
For a long time, I wouldn't talk about it because I was ashamed of it, because it felt like this like scarlet letter or something that I had, like not a college graduate. And then I flipped the story around on it. And that's why, like you were saying, learning how to pitch yourself, that comes from grounding yourself in your own worth. Then pitching yourself becomes easy. Then knowing what to talk about on podcasts and how to get booked on them, and how to get your story out there, and how to book talks. All of this stuff comes from an inner grounding of knowing that I'm a freaking badass. I am.
Everyone listening right now, I don't know where you are, if you're on the train or whatever, just stand up and say, I am a freaking badass. I'll say that. We need more of that.
Well, and just one other thing that I want to say is that everybody on here, we're all looking to grow our businesses through and grow our visibility through PR. And there's two things that will move that forward. One is visibility, I just said, and two is connection. And these are two areas where playing small has a huge, huge effect that we don't even realize. So we don't put ourselves out, we're not visible enough. We do it. And you might find that you have enough energy to will your way through to be visible sometimes, and then you back off and you don't have the energy to do it. That's a big red flag that you have some playing small tendencies in there, that you are not comfortable being out there in the spotlight, and that can be worked on. The other thing is connections. Sometimes we have trouble making connections. We have trouble asking for help. We have trouble asking and saying to people, we are worthy of your time, and like, hey, let's be friends and let's see how we can collaborate and help each other. And that's very uncomfortable for some of us because we don't feel worthy of that. The worthiness, that ball of emotion tied to that, when you can unravel that, like, notice where those two things come up. If you find that you're reaching out to people but you can't follow up, if you're finding that you have trouble hitting that send button, these are connection issues. Pay close attention to that, and notice when it comes up, and recognize that you are worthy. Make a list of all the reasons why you're a badass, and look at it when those things come up.
What's so funny is I worked with 300-400 entrepreneurs now, and the people who have success, it's nothing to do with how far away their business is. They could be making jewelry in their garage and selling it on Etsy, and they get featured, right? And there are people who have actually gotten organic press where people have come to them and said, your story is amazing, I want to cover you, and they still don't want to pitch. They still don't feel like they're ready. And then they think there's something wrong with this method or this and that, and I can just see the patterns of what makes someone successful, what makes someone be able to grow their network so that they're getting speaking opportunities, that they have a huge influencer that's like wanting to partner with them. Like, just getting yourself from here to here, it is such a mindset shift, because the CPR method is there. It's a method that's proven, but you got to take it, right? You got to actually go. And then once your intention is not about, oh, like, I feel like, what if I get rejected, but about helping people with your message through the CPR method, because people deserve to listen to what you have to say and could benefit people, right? Like, Nicole, your story about not graduating college but working on Wall Street, there are people right here who are watching, who are listening, who can resonate with your story. They're just not saying it, but I know it's affecting them. It's inspired them. It's that intention of pitching, and not about the outcome of the pitch really, but about your intention to help people with your message. That is what's going to get you featured.
Exactly. I want to help. You want to help people see. You want to help people change their perspective. You want to help people see things a new way. And one of the things, like I mentioned, I was an actor for most of my life. And one of the things one of my acting coaches used to say was, because actors have an issue with being self-conscious. And he would say, if your attention is on the other person, 100% of it, then it's impossible to be self-conscious, because you don't have any other attention to give. So if you put your attention on your intention and your attention on somebody else, on solving a problem, on making an impact, that will take the attention off of you. So when you can make that shift, and you can consciously shift into that when you are subconsciously and unconsciously shifting back and going into like playing small mode, if you can shift into that and say, how can I make an impact on people? How can I shift my attention and my intention to the other person? You'll feel that lift.
I love that. I'm going to say it one more time. Attention on intention. That will take the pressure and attention off of you, and you don't feel so self-conscious.
Yep.
So I think that is a great place for us to end. You've given us so much inspiration. Where can people find you? How can people work with you? How can people DM you?
Yeah, thank you. So my Instagram handle is Nicole Laino Official, and you can feel free to DM me over there. I do have a program starting in July. It's called Becoming, which is all about personal power and empowering yourself. So I have that coming up in July. If anybody's interested in that, I'm happy to give you more information on that. But I have a free Facebook group called Unlock Your Inner CEO, which is all about the inner game for external results. So mastering your inner game so that you can attract and create external results that you are only dreaming of. So you feel free to hop on over there. You can go to innerceogroup.com. So that's our vanity link for it, and that'll take you right over there. And I'd love to see you.
That's so awesome. I look forward to speaking to your group as well.
Yes, I'm excited to have you in.
So it's Inner CEO at what?
Yeah, it's innerceogroup.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you so much for being a part of the group, for trusting in the process. I'm so glad you got the starter pack. I'm so glad I got to write your pitch for you. I learned so much about myself in the process. I started to understand the patterns that I was falling into that we talked about on the pitch. I cannot wait for you to send that pitch and help other people.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And if you haven't booked a pitch writing session with Gloria, I highly, highly recommend it. She was amazing. And it does a lot for your confidence, just seeing, because again, we're employing these strategies that are keeping us from being able to write the pitch ourselves. If you're having trouble with that, get help for the first one. Have her come in and put it together. Get out of your own way by hiring, because you want to do the inner work to get to the external results. Sometimes you can sub it out too. This is one of the things you can sub out and get to a result much, much faster. So I couldn't recommend.
And collapse time.
Yes, and collapse time for sure.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so happy that you enjoyed our session, and I look forward to speaking in your group. For everyone out there, please follow Nicole at Nicole Laino Official. She also has an amazing Facebook group as well. It's going to be more mindset centric. It's called Unlocking Your Inner CEO. You can go to innerceogroup.com and look out for her. Why don't you drop the links in the actual replay and just keep engaging with people in the replay, and they'll DM you. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed and wonderful weekend. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being here.
Have a great weekend. Bye.